A rom-com that deals with online gaming? That sounds like a winning combination to me. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Our Pass. Today I'm talking about We Need to Talk, which is already out. It came out on May 13th, 2022. It is a rom-com that mixes some of my favorite things. It mixes video games, it mixes online gaming, it mixes content creation all together into this weird, crazy, fun soup that is both entertaining and actually does have a pretty decent rom-com message as well. So my hot take is I think you should watch it. Look, like I'm a little biased here. This is kind of made for me. It's a rom-com. It has online gaming. It has online personas. And it also has some really fun characters, some good writing, and some fun banter. Now, there's a few minor flaws, but overall, I really enjoyed this. And I think that this is one of those movies that just kind of speaks to me. And it's fun to see it all together on the screen. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like. And in some of the things I didn't like, I will discuss the ending because the ending has some things that I didn't love about it. So you can keep watching this up until the end part. When it gets to the end, I would maybe turn this off. I'll give you a warning about spoilers. Don't worry about that. But just a heads up. So We Need to Talk deals with Great Scott, who is played by James Maslow. He is an online, probably Twitch gamer. I mean, they don't really specify, but he seems like probably a Twitch gamer. He has a following of about 3 million. He is kind of a personality. He is fun to watch, and he is all consumed with his online life. Look, I mean, it kind of is it is who he is. He feeds off the love and the adoration of that. But this leads him to maybe neglect other aspects of his life that need to happen. His business aspects, like he is too busy trying to like post videos and interact with the fans that he's not doing a review that he has to get done. It also causes him to neglect his own personal relationships. He is always online, looking at comments, finding comments, trying to think about videos and things like that. And that leads him to just not be present in the real world. And that causes some issues. And eventually his girlfriend, Allie, tells him, we need to talk. But she doesn't say exactly what. And so that leads to a spiral of him trying to figure out, like, what did she mean? Like, what's going on? And of course, he can't get in contact with her. He doesn't know exactly what she meant. And so he turns to his community, which is probably a bad idea. You should never probably get life advice from an online Twitch community. But that leads to him to further down this rabbit hole into crazy conclusions. And that causes all sorts of fun, hilarity, and some real relationship drama to happen. So things I liked about this film. The first is the Great Scott character. Look, James Maslow does a great job as this over-the-top online presence. He has a really fun, like, video persona that I like to see. He's confident. He's kind of like entertaining to watch. Way more confident than I am. Way more fun to watch than I am. So I really enjoyed seeing him. Plus, he has a really nice kind of irreverent feel to his character. His character does have a lot of wit. He has like a very sarcastic type of delivery. He kind of is like a young Ryan Reynolds if Ryan Reynolds played video games. Like he kind of feels like that type of a personality. And he's really just fun to watch during this film. The second thing I loved are the video game references. Look, you can tell that the writer-director Todd Wolfe loved video games because there's so many different little things. There's old video game consoles, there's video game memorabilia. So some of the dialogue will have video game references. All the places, all the gamer places have game memorabilia on their walls and things like that. So it is definitely fun to see. I was kind of smiling often because I would see something I recognize and just love that it was on there. So if you're a video game person and you have a love of gaming and gaming culture, you are definitely going to enjoy watching this film. The third thing I loved is the banter. I mean, there is a lot of fun conversations between Great Scott and some of his gaming friends. A lot of the conversation takes place when they're playing this online game. I actually don't know what the game is. I'm not certain what it was. I haven't played it, but it's like an online shooter. It's some sort of like control point setting because they keep talking about capturing points. But they will be talking. He'll be talking with a kind of revolving crew of his regular gaming people, and they talk him through some of the issues that he is thinking. Like he doesn't know what's going on, so they talk him through some of the hypotheticals and like what will be next. But this is mixed in with game trash talk and with like game talk itself. So there is some fun interactions there where like they'll be talking about problem, and then Scott will say like, "Oh, they're capturing B," and like, "Man, that's rough." And they're like, "No, it's not. Like it's fine." But they're talking about his life problem, not the in-game aspect that's happening. So I loved hearing that. It was just a lot of fun. Plus, they do make it fairly seamless. It must have been tough to film a movie that has online banter kind of back to back, but they do a pretty good job of keeping it moving, keeping the dialogue flowing. And so I really enjoyed seeing that. The fourth thing I liked is the cast. Look, like the cast, it has a very diverse section of gamers. And I think that was fun to see because gaming is generally thought of as like a teenage male hobby, but it is pretty ubiquitous now, especially with tablet games and phone games and things like that. A lot of people play games, a lot more people play games than you would think. And so his crew, his group of people it's a very diverse cross section. Like, they're in different locations, they're in different stages in their life, and I like seeing all of them come together because does feel like kind of an organic community. Like, if you have a gaming group, sometimes you have people that you've never met and you don't necessarily know like how old they are, but they could be very different ages, they could have very different backgrounds, but you all come together because you love gaming. And I really liked seeing that as well. Like, the cast is very fun to watch. Like, they're all really well done, but it is also fun to see the diversity in the cast and to see them kind of interact in very different ways as they're talking. So that's a little bit more about the banter, but this is a specific aspect about the banter. And the last thing I loved is the idea. Look, this movie is perfect for me. It's a rom-com about video games and online personalities. I loved it. I thought it was really fun to watch. I love that this movie is made, and so that is why I definitely think you should watch it. Now, there are a few flaws in this movie. They're not terrible, except for one that I really didn't like, but it's fine. It's okay. So, things I didn't love about this movie. The first is the corny writing. And look, there are going to be some spoilers from here on out. So if you don't want to know about the film, if you don't want to know what happens, turn this off now, go watch the film. It's available digitally, and then you can come back and hear my thoughts. So there are some references that do fit with his Twitch persona, but they felt a little corny when he said it. Specifically, the one that I really noticed is there's one when he is talking about, like, he's worried that Allie's going to break up with him. But when he says, like, break up with him, he's like, oh my gosh, is she going to unsubscribe me? Please don't unsubscribe me, which it fits with their conversation and his personality, but it just sounded really corny when it's coming out. Again, not a big deal. Most of the dialogue is fine. There's a few, rough edges, but overall, like I said, I liked the banter and I liked the way that they incorporated video game references into the dialogue. So it's fine. This is one thing I really noticed. The second thing I didn't love is one of the build-up aspects is he's trying to do this review for Headshot Heroes 10, which is essentially the Call of Duty clone in this movie. It's the 10th iteration. The Call of Duty has a million iterations already. It feels rehashed. It feels lazy. That's kind of the gist of the review. But when he actually does do the review, it makes a very good movie moment. And this is probably particular to me because I wanted to hear more about the game itself. He talks briefly about the game, but then analogizes it to his current situation and like his current relationship status. So it fits for the movie, it fits for his personal growth, but it's not a very good review. And so I didn't love that. I wanted more about the review itself. If I was like an actual person that was following him, I'd be a little upset that that was the review. Again, not a big thing, not a big deal, probably specific to me. And most people will probably be very happy because it is a nice movie moment. The last thing I didn't love is that the ending has some unnecessary extra drama and then resolves too quickly. So essentially what happens, and major spoilers here, so if you don't want to know about the film, turn this off now. Essentially what happens is Scott is trying to figure out like what's going on. What did she want to talk about? What did she want to say? And he thinks of, maybe she's pregnant. Maybe she's going to break up with me. Maybe, something else happened. Like, at first he doesn't think it's a big deal, but then as he asks his community, they start putting new ideas into his head. And then he asks some of his friends, and they start to add additional wrinkles to it. And that causes him to kind of spiral down into this, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. So eventually he does track her down. He kind of resolves, like, I need to give her more attention. He cleans up the apartment. He sets a nice dinner for her. He buys a ring for her. So he finally tracks her down at this like axe throwing event. And he's like, well, she's like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And he's like, oh my God, like, what do you want to talk to me about? Like, what was going on? And so they finally talk, they hash it out. It turns out the apartment above them is going up for rent. And she thought, hey, this would be a good idea to go. It'll be a little bit more money, but I think we can make it work and you'll have more space for your video. So a very sweet, very nice idea that she just wanted to talk to him about. Again, I don't really know why she didn't just say, hey, we need to talk about that apartment or anything like that. It wouldn't be much of a movie if she had emphasized that. But it's like, why didn't you just say that? Why did you keep it secret? Why did you say, like, we need to talk? She's like, I told you about the apartment last week. You just weren't listening, which is true. He's always kind of in his, his online follower world. And there's a few other references throughout the film where big events happen that would have been easily resolved if we would have listened earlier. But so they get into an argument. Scott's a little bit of a jerk here. It doesn't actually really fit well with his character because he's a little bit outwardly aggressive to someone for no reason. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. They resolve that. They resolve that issue. He says he wants to change. They seem to be at a good spot. And then a new crisis happens. A new crisis where earlier Scott had posted a live stream of his review of Headshot Heroes 10. And it was bad in many ways. So first, it was lazy. Second, it also wasn't a very good review. He didn't really know what he was going to say. So it wasn't very interesting to watch. And that also leads to people unsubscribing from him. So all those are bad. But then on top of all that, he broke embargo. He broke the embargo for the game when he live streamed it. So someone else posted that video with like this, is Great Scott done? Like Great Scott breaks embargo. And that causes his like partner to call him up and be like, yo, we have a problem. And it leads to this new crisis. Now, this crisis feels fairly manufactured for a few ways. Like one, I was like, hey, what can I do to help? And he's like, nothing, you already done enough, which wasn't the right way to respond to that. But it also is kind of true. Like there's really nothing Allie can do in that moment. So she gets upset at him for that. But he just kind of has to sit there and like email people, get the video taken down, figure out what he has to do. So he eventually like gets a text from the publisher being like, hey, we need to talk. And he texts them back and be like, hey, like, I'm sorry, I'll take the video down. I'm like, okay, great, take the video down and we're good. So that was like the whole resolution of this crisis. And he gets the video taken down. It was almost like a nothing, but then that causes additional tension between them because he snapped at her. She gets mad at him for being in this world. They have another argument. And at the very end, he like goes through with his master plan of like, he's going to propose her. So he gets on one knee in the worst possible way, like the worst way one could, because it's not romantic. It feels very rushed. It feels half-assed, like a lot of things that he's been doing. And then she's like, what are you doing? Like, no, like this is not the time for that. And then the movie kind of like fades away and you see all these online stories of like, is Great Scott done? Like what's going on? He has like a monologue of him talking about like how horrible this was and how he didn't deserve her. And it leads you to this thought that maybe they're going to break up. And then you see Allie moving into a new apartment with someone that you don't know. Like you don't know who this person is, but they're moving stuff in. Like, oh, they're gonna like move on. This is the end. And then all of a sudden, like Great Scott shows up and they're at the apartment and like, yeah, I think this is a good idea. We should have gotten this apartment. This is great. And then he jumps on for an online gaming session with some of his friends. Some of his friends have some life updates as well. So it's a nice little like culmination scene. And then Allie pops in and she's like, all right, like I'm gonna play too. And they're sitting on the couch next to each other. They're spending time together. They're doing something together, which is nice. She is taking an interest in his gaming, which is nice. And then one of the people's like, hey, you should live stream this. Like your followers would love it. And he's like, no, that's okay. I'm going to keep this just for us, which is another nice thing because he is, again, not focusing on his online presence. But the kind of like rope-a-dope is what I didn't love. They kind of manufacture this drama to make you think, oh, like they're going to break up and then boom, everything works out. So either I wish that they would have had like maybe one scene in between where he's trying to make up to her or something like that, or they sit down and talk, like some glue in there, or just not have that second crisis, because that second crisis just kind of resolved too quickly. It would have been nice if they would have at the axe thing just, talked about it, figured out like what they were going to do, like made concessions, and then moved on. Again, it's not that big of a deal. It just felt like the end just kind of rushed to conclusion pretty quickly. It felt like they tried to up the drama at the very end only to have it work out really well, which is kind of what they did. And I didn't love that. But again, overall, I think this movie's fun. I like this movie. It's kind of a movie that's made for me. So I definitely think you should check it out. It's available digitally anywhere you rent and buy. The film is We Need to Talk. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. And please check out my other content, all my other reviews and interviews. And for this film specifically, I have interviews with a couple of the cast members, Chaney and James Maslow. So thanks so much for watching.